What's up, everybody? My name is Eric Williams. I am here with Edge for Life Training, and we are going to unbox the mobility wall. So I'm very excited to unbox this thing. My impression is this is the very first model from the 2020 Kickstart, which then arrived to me in early 2021. This was developed by Chris DeVecchio, who you can see featured on the Mobility Wall website and speaking to most of its promotions. And the pitch is pretty simple and it was fairly enticing to me. It's foam rolling reimagined. From their website, it's foam rolling reimagined. It stands you up, gives you more control, and gives you the ability to get a more effective foam rolling session with some additional benefits if it's off the ground, more pressure, more sanitary, easy to set up, things like that. So if you want to see their actual promo, go ahead and check out the link in the description. Pretty neat little video. But with that, let's get right into the unboxing. Cool box in a box. Okay, so we first got our attachments. So you can see I've got the fork, the large ball, and the bullet. Very reminiscent of the Hypervolt attachments, which I also happen to be a fan of, so not surprising that we would see those. Stand up and move. And we've got, oh wow, it's a very large attachment. So this is like full on, it's about the size of a baseball. We've got the bullet, more fine-tuned. It doesn't come to a point per se, but it's a little bit rounded in the top. And then you've got the fork, but you got multiple things to look at. I was wondering why this is so heavy. It's because I have two. I don't remember ordering 2 mobility walls, but whatever. Let's see what's inside. Okay, so we've got one mobility wall, and you can see this is the basics of what it looks like. It's got some foam roller, some place to put those attachments. Looks like this is where it hangs up into a door. I wonder what's in this other one. Okay, so it appears I have the Pro Series. You can see the labeling is slightly different. So I've got the Pro Series and then the perhaps standard. And you can see the boxes are actually slightly different sizes. So I'm kind of curious as to what will be in here. And if you want to jump right into the actual product use and review, there's a link in the description. For those who want to see what's actually inside the box, scan this to access our mobile app. That's cool. I like that. There's instructions. A quick start guide. Step 1, download the app. Step 2, place it on the floor. Step 3, raise it to your height. Lock it in place. Get rolling. Pretty simple. I like it. Important. Your mobility wall system comes assembled and ready to use. Before each use, make sure you unlock the locking ring, gently pull it out, adjust, lock together. Okay, so this is basically just a further description. I imagine that because it's in a door, you want it done just right, and so nobody falls on their face or anything like that. It's a good call. Oh, and here is the attachments I would have guessed. This is very reminiscent of what comes with my Hypervolt. And so, you know, the smaller one versus this big boy. So here's what came in the small separate box. So you can see the difference in ball. All right, so we got the first one out. Here is the mobility wall. You know, it's pretty beefy, pretty sturdy. Looks like it's made of metal. It's got pretty heavy duty fasteners. These clamping plates appear to be plastic, but they're like pretty heavy duty. This doesn't seem like something I'm gonna very easily scratch or bend. Spin to extend. Okay, so it just very slowly creeps out. When I get it into a door, I'll figure it out for sure. Okay, let's see what's inside the other box. Pro Series now. Okay, so, wow, I've got more attachments than I know what to do with at this point. So everything I got a whole bunch of attachments. I got 2 of the big balls, 2 of the small balls, 2 of everything? I got 2 of everything. But there does appear to be some different, ooh, I like that. Let's get this out of here. More attachments! Okay, so in this little bag here, I got another attachment. So I have no shortage of attachments. A nice little welcome note, hi Mobility Wall family. I actually got quite a few notes from them in terms of this Kickstart thing, so I was impressed with just all the communication. All right, same instructions, same scan to the mobile app, same note, and let's get this guy out of here. Okay, so right off the bat, you can see a very big difference. This one is highly textured, and this is very dense foam. You can see I'm pressing this with my thumb pretty aggressively, and it doesn't smush very well. So this strikes me as probably a more aggressive version of this. So you can see very clearly the tread is quite different. The attachments appear to be the same. The necks and collars appear to be the same. The attachment mechanism in the middle appears to be the same. Same on the edge. But this tread appears to be the big difference. Nothing left to do but to go put them in a doorway and see how this goes. All right, so I've got my mobility wall here, but before we get into it, full disclosure, I did a first take of this, and it was basically an insane comedy of errors. What's going on? Well, for some reason or another, the locking ring, there's some grooves here, and there's a little metal clip, and it won't go past this. And it's sliding out of the wall. So I'm gonna throw a leg up. Ooh, okay. And, oh, there it is. Oop. Okay, so you can see this is about to fall out of the doorway. Very simple solution. I do this backwards. I'm not trying to be a dummy on purpose, guys. I swear I am actually just kind of dumb. So if I set this up correctly, now when I lean into it, it's not going to go anywhere. So anyway, where was I?
So I do not recommend at this juncture sitting on it. That wasn't the best idea.
So I scrapped that, went back, actually looked at the app and got myself a bit educated on how this works as opposed to just kind of trying to throw it in the wall and see how it goes, which didn't go very well. I don't recommend you do that. So I'm going to tell you all the faults that I made, my recommendations on how to overcome them, and then look at 4 different movements, how I would do them classically, sort of absent this tool, and then how this tool best recommends to do it, and kind of compare and contrast. So first of all, there is this locking ring you can see right over here, and it should snap right in there. And this locks this middle piece in place. So when I first set this up, I was out here way too long because I have a doorway that is slightly wider than a standard home doorway. And you can see this locking ring no longer gets there. So what is the solution? Well, it's to make this side a little longer, make this side a little shorter, and it'll stack up in your doorway. So if you do like I did and only unscrew one side, you will run into an issue, okay? Don't do that. Second thing is I tried to truly treat this like a foam roller on the ground, but just in a doorway for some reason. It's foam rolling reimagined. And what that made me do was want to sit on it.
Sitting on it? That wasn't the best idea.
It wanted me to lean kind of down and onto it. And what that was doing was just pushing it out of the doorway. I weigh 185 pounds. This thing is very strong, don't get me wrong, and we'll see this in a second. And I was cranking it into my doorway, but at some point, this is not literally fixed to the doorway, so don't make the same mistake I did and sit on top of it. That's not what this is intended to do, and I'll get into my perception as to what it's intended to do and how to best address that. How do I get some top-down pressure? The next thing is don't put it in backwards. So, as you might guess, if I were to put it in my doorway, boom, like so, and then I am on the other side of it and pushing out against it, it's gonna fall out of the doorway. Put it into the doorway, press yourself up into the doorway, and it stays stuck perfectly well, okay? So if you don't make those, 3 errors, this will work perfectly fine. If you run into this and just kind of throw it up there and see how it goes, you'll make all of those errors and you'll fall on your butt and you'll wonder what's going on. I am not attributing that to the fault of this device. I actually haven't experimented with it a bit, really do like it quite a bit, and that is more to my hastiness and user error. So that being said, let's pop up in the doorway and see how it goes. So I've got it pretty close to measured. It's just a hair's breadth away. And what I can then do is tighten it, tighten it, tighten it, tighten it, tighten it. And you can hear, yeah, it's in there tight. It is compressing against my doorway, and now this is in there pretty good. And boom, I'm in business. Now, it would be a huge mistake for me to lean out like this, because that will eventually push it away, especially if you're trying to relax into something, you'll fall down. don't do that. Likewise, if I'm trying to get up on top of it to get my calves like so, there's a better way. Don't do it like this, okay? This way, now I'm locked in, I'm good to go, okay? So that is correction for my first 1 and 2 errors. So let's take a look at a couple of movements. The first thing that would be my kind of go-to foam rolling activity would be taking my foam roller, throwing it on the ground, and getting some back work. And so why might I foam roll like this on the floor? Well, I might lean to one side and get my spinal erectors. I might get up into the rhomboids. Traps aren't really available. I mean, it's gonna be kind of a weird thing. I'm almost like inverted upside down. One of the things that this purports to do is that I get up off the ground, I don't have to worry about balance. This isn't really a balance requiring activity, but here is the linchpin. Once I get to here, there's not really any more pressure I can put. Sure, I can grab a weight, I can do all these kind of things, but if I'm talking about like just grabbing and going, I'm not gonna get as much as I could by doing something slightly different here. But one of the things that I found was amazing based on the tutorial is I can actually get up and underneath, kind of squat into it, and now I can place a lot of pressure on my back. I can get that chin tuck, and I can use my legs, press with my arms, open up those spinal erectors. I can take that all the way into some extension. If I wanted to get to the QL, all the lower stuff, and I could theoretically roll that all the way down, and now I'm in the traps hanging out. So because this is fixed in place, because it's not on the floor, because you can see my foot is behind the actual plane of the doorway, and I'm using my legs, I can get quite a bit of range and activity just by hanging out here. So my back motion becomes quite a bit more versatile. So I was a huge fan of the back in general, using this versus that. Is there still a time and place for a foam roller on the ground? Sure, maybe. But if this is nearby, and if I'm nearby a doorway, I'm almost always gonna select this. Okay, next one, I'm gonna lower this and actually flip it around so I'm not showing you all my butt. And I'm getting this pretty much right at quad height. Technically, I probably don't need the locking ring for this. We're gonna talk about the quads now. And so what would I do on the quads? Well, I'm gonna place this like so. I'm gonna get at about the knee. And this is kind of like the easy version, right? I can do more stuff. I can start doing curls, hamstring curls. As I go down my quad, I can get some passes back and forth. And so, again, balance is not that big of a deal. Maybe if I'm trying to get up into the nooks and crannies of my hips, it's a little bit trickier, but in general, fairly approachable. However, again, I run into the problem of even in the absolute best case scenario, I just kind of run out of pressure. I mean, this just really isn't enough, and there's only so much force I can kind of drive down and back. And I'm just kind of out of space for my quads. Now, if you have very sensitive quads, maybe you want to go here, that's fine. I don't have sensitive quads, fairly strong quads, and they get tight, and so I need a pretty aggressive stimulus. And I found that one of the things they recommend here is you pin a leg underneath a little bit, and now I can lean my entire body, and already right here, I'm feeling really intense pressure on my quads. I can shear back and forth, and that is a huge stimulus compared to what I can get there. Now, I can get both. I can even throw in a little hamstring flexibility. I can still roll that quad in that same way if I want to get that kind of curling action. I can pin my leg underneath, shear back and forth. It is very intense very quickly. And if I've got sensitive quads and I don't have a ton of tissue there, I can still take it fairly gentle. So again, and I've used this one probably more than anything because my quads get lit up from time to time. And again, this can become very passive. I'm hanging out, I'm shearing across them, I'm getting into those spaces. Feels great, okay? For quads, I'm going with this, again, hands down. Okay, next one is calves. And actually, right off the bat, calves leave me, I don't foam roll my calves because this is basically nothing at all. Like I just can't, I can't get anything out of this. I can put my other leg there, I can push myself up on my hands, and this is basically no stimulus. And for somebody who's not quite as strong in the upper body, maybe pressing themselves up here and getting this kind of stimulus isn't available. So in the spectrum, unless you had incredibly tender calves, like I'm thinking this isn't gonna do much for you. Sure, I could start tinkering around with, but that's not where I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go to the correct side of the doorway, about calf height. Now this one was really interesting, and it took me a second to figure out, but once I got it, I was like, ooh, this is pretty spicy. So I'm gonna place my leg underneath like this, and then I'm gonna drive my heel down, and it is like almost intolerably intense, okay? So I've gotta moderate this a little bit, and I can get down and shear once again. And because this is fixed in place and I'm just kind of standing here, like this is a very intense calf stimulus. And all I'm doing, quite literally all I'm doing is just stepping down and then shearing back and forth. Ooh. I can replicate something like this maybe with a kettlebell on the ground. But the thing is now I've introduced another tool. So if I'm left with just one tool, what is my maximum utility? Ooh. And that is insane. So I'm getting down into the soleus, the lower part. I can get up into the bigger, thicker part, the gastrog. And again, I still have that gentler one more available to me, where this is pretty chill. So if I've got sensitive calves, I can hang out here. I can do all the same stuff, but now I'm also standing. It's pretty chill, pretty comfortable. So if I'm going for calves, bang, this guy wins all day. Okay, now we're going into some upper body, and I'm going to do kind of a combo neck trap thing. And so this becomes essentially unavailable on the floor. I would have to get very inverted and kind of off to the side. And sure, maybe I can get here, but I'm limited. There's nothing left for me to do. Maybe I can wiggle back and forth a little bit. I can get some passes back and forth, but once I'm up there, I run into the floor. I run into the actual limitation of my hip angle. Like I can't get any higher, I can't get upside down. And so typically what I've done is use a barbell. And so I'll be up underneath the barbell and going into the traps and all this kind of stuff, which is fine. Tends to work out okay. However, much like the back, I can get myself up underneath this, and this is similar to a barbell. I can get underneath. I don't really have to hold it down anymore. I can wiggle around. I don't really have to hold that barbell down or band it down or put some weight on it, and I can get into the neck. So hanging out, getting back and forth. This would not be available on the bar because this has got these little grooves, this little space literally designed for my neck to kind of fit in between there. And I could roll this, let's say, across to the side, get underneath the trap, start shearing back and forth. I can start to get arm raises. Now I'm hands free. I don't have to hold the barbell down. I can get all sorts of different articulations, and I can now introduce the ball attachments, which if I adjust this little peg here, get that in there nice and tight, boom. Pretty straightforward to get that going right away, and I'm boom, right up there into the rhomboids, right up there into the traps, right up there into all that subscap stuff, and I can do all of the same things that I would do on the floor with a lacrosse ball, and maybe migrate right into my next thing. So I've got several things available to me, and so this is a big winner for the upper body as well. So those are really the only four that I got a little more acclimated with. And per the app, which seems pretty cool, you can choose golfing, you can choose lower body, you can choose hamstrings, and it'll give you basically all the activities assigned to that. They've got the videos really well laid out where it's basically, it starts and there's no talking. There's no, hey guys, I want to talk to you about hamstrings for 25 minutes and then show you a little 30-second clip at the end. It really is straightforward and laid out. It looks like they put a lot of thought into this. So again, full disclosure, I didn't go into this absolutely cold. I had to do a little homework because I was making so many errors, trying to just throw this thing in the wall and going for it. So perhaps, yes, maybe a little more sophistication of a tool, but then also a little more sophistication in the application and the stimulus that you get. So net, I was very pleased with this product overall. It's sturdy in its construction. It's, you know, generally clean and sleek in its design if you care about those kind of things. Personally, not a huge selling point for me, but it is cool looking, I suppose. It does what it's intended to do. It sticks up in the door. The attachments work well. All the stuff works. especially if you don't make a user error of setting it up wrong. And then the applications, and the 4 I looked at were back, calves, quads, and sort of like a generalized traps and shoulders. The application is great, and all of the tools I would use in the past are now pretty easily replicated by using this guy. And I would say, is there still a time and a place for some of these odds and ends? Sure. Having more tools is definitely great. So I'm not saying go throw out your lacrosse ball, throw out your barbell, throw out your foam roller. You maybe now have a good Swiss Army knife in your toolbox, and it can attack a lot of different things and do it quite well. And so, generally I think this is a tool that for a lot of folks would make a pretty big difference in their lives in terms of if they're trying to get the most benefit out of that foam roller there. So thank you very much for taking the time for watching. If there's other products you'd like us to try, I'm very much into this product space. I really like it when I find great tools, and as you've seen us in the past, I really like tearing to pieces tools that make no sense and are ridiculous and are just a waste of money. To some degree, I feel like it's our obligation as fitness enthusiasts to get out there and test some of these things and see how they work and give people good recommendations. Throw a comment down there, throw a like, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and maybe we'll get some other products out there to review. Thanks for watching.